Hello everybody, and thank you for taking the time to engage this video. Bringing on an intern in the middle of a global pandemic is nobody's idea of a good time, but education must continue, and the church, of course, continues in its ministry. So normally, if we were bringing in a new staff person, we would introduce that person, have some sort of meet and greet reception, find a way probably to have a potluck out of it because we're Presbyterian after all. But unfortunately, right now, we're kind of limited to this video. And so, again, thank you for taking the time to engage. And Ashlyn, thank you for being here.
Of course.
And if you want more interaction with Ashlyn than just watching her on a screen, we actually have 3 Zoom meet and greet times where Ashlyn will be available for a couple hours on 3 different days so that you can just zoom in, get to know a little bit more about her, maybe follow up on some of these questions. If she has an answer that relates to your life, show up and share that story. And those Zoom times are going to be this Sunday, September 13th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., Monday, the 14th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., and then Tuesday, the 15th from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. All that information is in the weekly First Thoughts, and you'll also be able to find links to it on our Facebook page and Facebook group. So, do you want to get into it?
Of course, let's go.
All right. So first, just tell us, where did you grow up?
Yeah, I grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee. And my family lived on a ridge, so it was a subdivision built on a ridge. And we were the top house on the ridge, and across the street from us was just wooded area for a couple of acres.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was great. We could climb up the ridge and walk all along and see the town over on the other side of the ridge. Uh-huh. And it was always fun trying to mow. Because, you're mowing like this, trying to keep the lines straight for Dad.
Yeah. Now, since you're in Ohio, you might want to explain what a ridge is, because we've never really seen any hills here.
It's a small mountain. It's a small mountainside. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And so you grew up on this ridge. I'm doing my utmost to not make a hillbilly joke. And I think rather commendably, too, I haven't done that yet. Tell us, who did you grow up with? Tell us about your immediate family.
Yeah. I have 2 sisters and 2 brothers, so there was 5 siblings altogether. My youngest sister was born when I was 9. And my youngest brother was born when I was 14. So there's a huge gap between sort of the first set of siblings and the second set. And then my parents, but my whole immediate family lives within 20 minutes of the center of Knoxville. So aunts, uncles, cousins. We had one cousin move to Georgia later in life, and that was like, a big deal. And then I came up here 7 hours away. Wow. And I was the one that flew the coop.
Yeah. Across that Mason-Dixon line, right?
I did.
So, is your cousin who moved to Georgia grateful that you moved even further away? Because
she was just like, whew, takes pressure off of me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good. You grew up near those extended family. Oh, your siblings. So which order are you then?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we were going up into the woods that I was talking about, and we also had the privilege of living an hour outside the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. So there's all kinds of trails, all kinds of waterways, all kinds of wildlife. So we live right in the Tennessee Valley. So it's just a beautiful place, and Knoxville is.
Any black bear sightings in your youth?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, of course. There's a huge black bear population, especially in the Gatlinburg, Great Smoky Mountain area. Yeah. I've seen quite a few.
Yeah.
Live to tell the tale. I didn't go pet one or anything.
That's good. Yeah. I think Ohioans know your area as like the place we go to vacation to.
Yes, exactly.
When we're not going to like Myrtle Beach.
Right. The Great Smoky Mountain National Park is the most visited national park of all the national parks in the U.S.
Actually, I'm from Mansfield, Ohio, which is near where you live now, and we'll get to that. But my hometown is the most visited rest stop in all of Ohio.
You're the potty.
We are more flushes per capita than any other city in Ohio. Just because you're cruising 71 there, and you just need to pull over. We've got like 5 McDonald's.
Oh my goodness.
So how are your roots still important to who you are today? This is mostly for your mother, who, is still sad that you moved so far away. Wants to hear how your roots are.
Yes, my mother came up and visited myself and my husband, I don't know, a few months ago. And she walked around the block and came back and she said, "There's 4 houses for sale." And we were like, "We left you in Tennessee." No, my roots. I am in constant contact with my siblings. We have a Sib Squad group is what we call it.
Nice.
And we're always talking or sending memes. We're in constant communication. But beyond that, I mean, so much of Tennessee has formed my faith, formed my life, formed my theology. I like to say I'm a Southerner displaced instead of like now I'm an Ohioan, but I feel like I've been transplanted for at least a little while here.
I get that. The first decade of my marriage to Brianne, we lived in Pennsylvania, and I mean that's not even that far away, but we both felt like we were Ohioans through and through, and I even named my fantasy football team In Exile. And then when LeBron decided to come back to Ohio, I was like, well, mine and LeBron's careers have tracked one another's pretty closely, if you think about it, and so I also decided to come back to Ohio.
Are you going to LA soon? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, but only for my Hollywood career.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, so I mean, it's such a deep part of me, and I often introduce myself as Appalachian. I had a professor, I went on a trip with him, a school trip that he was leading to China. And he was introducing us to this group, and he was just going down the line of students, and he goes, "And here's Ashlyn, she is of our mountain people." And I laughed, and I was like, but yes, the mountains have built in something in me, and I have given back to the mountains, something that's special in that relationship. And so I claim Appalachian very strongly, not as a demeaning term, but very prideful in the sense that Appalachian is my identity.
Sure. So where did you go to college?
I went to college in Tennessee at a liberal arts university called Carson Newman University. It's actually a Baptist college.
Okay.
Yeah. So I grew up. Most of my life was in a Baptist congregation, and it was kind of a roundabout way I got connected with Carson Newman, and I studied international business there and cross-cultural sociology and social entrepreneurship, and that's how I got to Indiana, which was the road that I found myself in Ohio too.
Yeah, and so how have you used your degrees in your career so far?
Oh, yeah. So I've done a lot of cross-cultural travel, and I have also been, using my sociology degree, been a social worker. So I've worked with kids that have been through traumatic experiences and sort of worked with them to get them to a place where they can, work through their schoolwork and work through their own traumas and work through like their daily life stuff to find some normalcy. And that was a very fulfilling job, but very, very draining.
Yeah, I mean, I got to imagine it takes a lot of your own resiliency to help build up resiliency in others who are coming out of trauma.
Yeah, and still hold those, to not be as separated from the event. They're still in the same town, but maybe with a different family, and having to piece that out in their geography, in their own inner self. And kids are learning that anyways as they grow up and develop, but then you add trauma in that, and it's a different level that you have to negotiate and move around.
Well, on a happier note than that, you're about to celebrate a special day, right?
Yes, I am. At the end of this month, my husband and I will celebrate our first anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you want to tell us anything about how you and him met, or?
We met at seminary. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a crazy story, though, because he was going to seminary in Oregon, and then he decided to move back closer to his family his last year. And one of the conditions that he had to meet was have all the introductory classes. Even though he had a degree in theology, he was on his last year of seminary, for his 4th year. He had all this background, and they were like, okay, you need to go to intro to theology.
Oh.
to be able to say that you graduated from our program. And so here he was in my first semester of seminary, and we hit it off, and you know, I was just infatuated.
That's good.
Yeah.
You don't think he intentionally delayed that one course just so he could, you know, go back and meet an incoming student, right? It wasn't.
No.
Wasn't his a dating strategy on his part?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
He was just trying to get through the courses, and then we ended up being in multiple classes, and you know, you learn a lot about people in seminary and their inner selves and their thoughts on God. I mean, that's heavy topics to put, you know, co-eds in a room together with, and it just worked for us, you know?
Yeah, no, it's, you know, normally you don't get to that sort of thing till like the 12th date.
Exactly.
And it's like literally the first thing, you know. Maybe you even hear him pray before or at the end of a class or something like that. You're like, definitely not just like sharing some appetizers. Right. Sort of thing.
We just started hanging out in a group, and there are funny stories of, you know, I was like, no, I'm not getting in a relationship with you. Not now. I've got my degree to focus on. And then we end up married before I graduate. But that's another story for another time.
Good. Since you met in seminary, do your ministries overlap?
Yes. He does work with rural communities, and so sort of a rural agrarian theology. And my theology is centered around eco-theology and how to find God in nature and what nature tells us about God. And so those can easily overlap, but we have also, for the last 3 years or so, taking COVID into mind right now, last 3 years led retreats that are centered around recuperating and renewing, especially rural leaders. Yeah, and a lot of that is also situated outside. Yeah, and we've done topics like outdoor church too, where we've led outdoor services in consecutive weeks, all on an element of either dirt or water or trees, and teased out what the Bible says about each of those or what they can teach us. And those have all been sweet complementary overlaps of like our gifts and our skills. And it's been fun to what does ministry look like right now with him because of COVID. And the outdoors easily fits into that, you know?
Yeah, no, I was never walking, my dog along the paths until COVID took away every other entertainment option that was safe. And so, now Brutus and I get out there 5 or 10 miles every week. So who makes up your current community right now?
Oh, our community is so wide. Yeah, speaking of Carson Newman, I was on the International Hall and I was a chaplain for the building. And so not only is it my old community, college buddies, but it's voices from all over the world, that I've had the opportunity to go and visit in their home as they have had the chance to visit in mine. And, my husband has lived in Kansas and Oregon, and we just Skyped in with some friends the other night from Oregon. I mean, it just feels as isolated as we can be right now, that we can look on a map and say we have a community that's broad and that we love people here and here and here and here. And it can ground us in a way to have this wide community. We do live in Mount Gilead, Ohio, and a quite rural place. We have just a couple of restaurants up there, you know. If we want to go to the store, then we have to drive at least 25 minutes away, you know. Grocery stores in town, but if we need anything else, we're 45 minutes away. So.
And you're also a member at Old Stone
Presbyterian, yes. Yeah.
And for our, you know, audience, for the congregation, Old Stone is, you know, just a stone's throw away from here. And my colleague and my friend Adam Anderson is the pastor out there. In fact, if COVID hadn't disrupted things, Old Stone and First, we were going to be doing an outdoor retreat weekend this year. Obviously, that wasn't able to materialize, but they're good friends and nearby neighbors. So you've told us a lot about yourself personally. Why don't you tell us, where does your faith journey start?
Yeah, my faith journey started with my grandmother. Oh my goodness, she's the matriarch of our family, and she has made sure that her family has been kept in the fold, for sure, as many grandparents sort of take on that role. And I grew up in church. I was in a Baptist community for 20 years, and then I moved to a non-denominational church, and then I started exploring Quakerism after school, and then I ended up as a Presbyterian. So it's a pretty wide ecumenical worldview that I found myself in.
Yeah, and I gotta say, not to steal anything of the uniqueness of your story, but I think that's an increasingly common story amongst you know, folks in our generation. Is they're like accidentally ecumenical, right?
Yeah.
They try to go and they try to find communities where faith is vibrant and meets them where they're at, and it often leads them to jump theological traditions that maybe don't have a lot in common, but they become that bridge. So do you feel yourself as a bridge between Baptist, Quaker, and Presbyterian at all?
Maybe so. I remember telling my family, it was the day of my graduation, and they said, "What are you going to do?" And I hadn't told them that I had been accepted into Earlham School of Religion yet. And I said, "I'm going to a Quaker school." And they said, "Does that mean you're going to have to handwrite all your papers?" Thinking that was some sort of, Amish or that sort of sensibility. And I was like, no, they use computers, they use lights, and had to explain what that meant. And I'll tell you a little about Quakerism.
Why don't you go ahead and explain to us what Quakerism is?
Yeah, Quakerism, there's lots of branches of Quakerism, like there's lots of branches of other denominations, but they really have this core idea of anagram, is that right? Excuse me. It's called SPICE.
SPICE?
Yes.
Oh, that's not an anagram. What is that? It's an abbreviation. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember. See, one of my degrees was not in English.
Don't you wish that we could edit this now?
Yes, just, can we cut there? But it's okay. No.
So SPICE.
SPICE. So you have simplicity, peace, integrity, community, and equality. And so what a Quaker meeting or it's Quaker church or Quaker meeting, most of the time you call it a Quaker meeting, tries to embody those 5 pillars. And they have the chance, their community says what that looks like. And so I find those very helpful in framing my life. How can I be simple? How can I be peaceful? How can I be full of integrity? How can I treat each other with equality? And how can I build a community? And I think many share that. Many faiths share that and can draw from those.
So would you consider yourself a Spice Girl?
Sure, I would.
Very good. Very good. That's excellent.
Hop back.
When did you recognize you wanted to go into ministry?
So from a young age, actually, I went to South Dakota and spent a little time on a reservation.
Okay.
And I got to learn from indigenous people and also see the injustices that they faced and felt. And I was only 12 at the time.
Oh, wow.
And I walked away from that experience saying, I've got to do something. I've got to do something. And ministry was that answer. And I wanted for such a long time to go into mission type ministry or international ministry, and that was always in my view, always in my perspective. I'm going to be a missionary. I'm going to be a missionary. And I went to school, and international business was sort of the way that I was going to explore that. I was going to do some economic development type things, and my second year of college, I had a friend tell me about a chaplaincy program and say, you need to try this. You need to try this. I think you'll be good at it. And I was like, no, I won't. Chaplaincy is not my thing. Missionary. And she said, I really think you're going to miss something if you don't do this. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try it. I applied, got the position, and was there for 2 years as a student chaplain. And I loved it. I loved it. It was a different ministry than I had ever explored before. And it was a ministry where you walk into the hardest parts of people's lives and offer presence in pain. And I had discovered so much that I had connected that to my own relationship with God and felt that so deeply in my own faith journey that I was like, if I can offer this, if I can be that same sort of presence, then I want to be. And I was like, international business, maybe that's not where I'm going. Social entrepreneurship, maybe that'll fit in somewhere. Sociology, okay, that worked, And I decided to look into ministry, and somebody said, why don't you try Earlham? And I did, and now I'm looking into congregational ministry. Yeah, just because of that.
That's really great. So, but I don't want to skip over your season of international focus, because you've kind of been around the world, right?
Couple times, yeah.
Where all have you been?
I have been to 16 different countries, and I'm not sure if I can name all of them. But all but 2 of them have been for faith-related reasons. I went to Taiwan, and I've been to Japan, both to see good friends of mine.
Okay.
But I spent some time in Guatemala. I lived there for a little bit and worked with a indigenous mission that went up into mountainous communities, and they were doctors that looked all over their country and said, where's the need most? And it was in this area that people couldn't get to, people that only see the doctor once every 10 years. And so they decided to buy trucks, get funds, and go up in these mountains each week and go from village to village. And I got to be part of that by taking histories of these people while they were getting medical care. So it was a very, very, very eye-opening experience. And to watch that also from the side of being the party of the indigenous, I was in that group. I was not an American that was coming in for a week. I was staying there. I was in meetings that were only held in Spanish or Quechua. It wasn't like I was, just taking a tour of this mountain.
Yeah.
So it was quite eye-opening. I got to spend some time in Honduras, and I've been to New England and Zimbabwe, and not New England, I'm sorry, London, and then South Africa,
Oh, wow.
China, Cuba, Peru. I've been to Colombia several times. Trying to think. The Philippines. Yeah, I think all in all, I've been to 16.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And you've hit a little bit of every major continent.
Yes,
Maybe the exception of Australia.
it's on my list.
I'm sure it is.
I need,
Yeah, you need
I
to.
need to get there now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to pull up lame
Right,
when it comes
right.
to Australia. That's great. So you had these international experiences. You've had a budding sense of a call to ministry from 12. Like that sense kind of just kept popping up. Finally, you make the commitment to go into seminary and are looking at parish ministry. So just tell us a little bit what your seminary experience has been like so far.
I mean, seminary is built to like deconstruct everything you know, and then to help you put together all those pieces and leave things that can be destructive or harmful to the side. So if anybody says they like seminary, they're really not in seminary.
Right.
You know, you have to have that crushing and crunching and destabilization to come out of it in a way that will, I feel, make you a better minister. And so I've went through that, and I've had to face my own demons and my own shortfalls, and I've had to leave things behind that I didn't want to quite leave behind, but then I've had to come to terms with the realization that some of those things weren't healthy. And so, you know, trying to find my center in that has been sort of a return home, or a return home to the mountains, or a return home to the earth. And I found God in that quite vividly, in the sense that it's enduring. And if you think of like Sally McFague's metaphor of God as being the body of God, if God has a body, then we can treat it somehow. So we can treat it well, or we can violate it. And so, reckoning with that metaphor, I have to ask myself, in what way am I treating God in my relationship with the earth? And that's where I've found my center. And if you think of sort of having this idea of the earth as God's body, and the way that we should or could care for it, and that extends to the animal kingdom. And how do you care for animals? And then we are animals. And how do you care for your brothers and sisters in Christ or not? And so by having this whole scope of the world, it's really taught me that, you know, even in natural processes, if I can respect and see God in that, I can so much easier respect and see God in the person that I disagree with politically, or the person that I disagree with theologically, because I can recognize God in them, because I can recognize God in the world, in processes, in the squirrels that keep getting into the bird feeder. You know, I can still find that.
Sure. Yeah, I was just actually talking with some friends the other day that it's shocking the amount of scripture in which either, you know, Israel or the church is in power and in a city comprises all of about 80 years. It's pretty much David and Solomon.
Yeah.
Right? And the rest of the time, scripture is written from the wilderness, from exile, from living under the oppression of another nation state that isn't Israel. And I think we sometimes we try to import our lived experience, and there's nothing wrong with being in a small town or in a big town.
No.
But we try to import that onto the text, and it's just not there. Like the text is full of a bunch of people with dirt under their fingernails, who lived close to the earth, who had to hope that somewhere in the next mile they're going to come across water, or at least a rock that God will make water pour out of. And it's a different experience of who God is
Right.
when you're living that way.
Right. I mean, Wendell Berry says the Bible is a book open to the sky. You know, it's hard to read it inside. And if we go outside and read of the parables, which nearly all encompass seed, dirt, dust.
Yeah.
Like, there's very few, there are very few that's like in this building. Like, I'll tell you a story about what's happening in this building, but it's mostly like scatter these seeds, sow this, you know. So it's very connected to earth, and I love that image of dirty fingernails. Yeah.
Good. So you've talked a little bit about the how seminary breaks you down, and I absolutely resonate with that. You walk in thinking like you've got it all figured out, and if they do their job by the end of your first year, you know you don't.
Right.
So
fetal position, like,
exactly.
Who am I? I don't know my name anymore.
So what has excited you in your seminary studies? What's the upshot?
Oh, yeah. I think the place where my heart stirs most is in Old Testament and New Testament study specifically. You could talk about theology and what or who or when God was, how he acts, but like getting down into the language in the scripture and parsing through that. There's some, you know, you can read the Bible every morning for your devotional, a quiet time, but there's something so special about finding a word that changes the whole thing. Or here's the Greek, and this is the history of that Greek word, and it's like, that's breath-giving, you know. It enlivens me to find that and to share that, or to have a whole book of the Bible turn on me that I found goodness in before, but now it's new life in the same story, in the same tale. And I find that a lot in my classes where I have to navigate scripture.
Yeah, they call it a living word for a reason, and that's one of the ways. So what are your future aspirations in ministry?
That's a really good question.
Right. And it's also, I should be clear, it's a completely unfair question to an intern, because an intern doesn't have to have an answer to that question.
Right.
Part of the internship is answering that question.
Yeah, or trying this coat on
Exactly.
of what does congregational ministry look like. And I think that I want to be in a space of nurturing. And long-term nurture. So not in a chaplaincy, like a hospital chaplaincy where it's like one in and done, I think that congregational ministry or working through someone in a teaching position, like taking a class through stuff or through content, in that nurturing, like guiding, teaching way. So I think those are areas that I'm drawn to. Also, I would really, both myself and my husband, really find renewal in those wild spaces. And so having a retreat center or having a place to bring people and do what I said, nurture and renew and bring healing to places, you know, retreat from the battle, you know, of everyday life. And I think a retreat center can be a part of that too.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I think so.
So this has been great. I want to thank you for all your time. Obviously, this is just scratching the surface of who you are. Folks should clearly come and join you on Zoom.
Please.
And God willing, we're actually going to be in person in worship at some point, and you're going to get to meet folks and interact with them. But before we sign off, let's just do some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's do it.
You buckled in?
Now I am.
Excellent. Safety first. Favorite book?
The Last King by J.R. Tolkien.
Okay. Is that part of the Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Okay. So you're a nerd.
Yep.
All right.
I'll take it.
So you're more Tolkien nerd than Lewis nerd?
Listen, there would be no Tolkien without Lewis and vice versa.
That's a very nerdy answer. Favorite movie?
I'll say, oh my gosh. Come back.
Okay. What's currently on your bucket list?
Oh yes, to see an orca, wild.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do something for somebody that they can never repay me. And I need to go see the coral reefs in Australia.
Oh, look at that. Yeah. Good
Yeah.
callback. Guilty pleasure.
Oh my goodness. Gummy bears, Albanese gummy bears, and naps.
Nice. I'm a big fruity candy fan myself. But candy has two major typologies.
Yeah.
Chocolates and fruity.
Yeah.
I'm the fruity candies the whole way down.
Oh man, you can make me do anything with a gummy bear.
Chewy Runts, Chewy Lemon Heads.
Yeah.
Good and Plenty, Starburst, Skittles.
Right.
Yeah, I'm there.
I think it's the gummy thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like gummy bears, worms, whatever.
That's good. This is the next rapid fire makes a lot of sense off of talking about candy. Worst habit?
Oh my goodness. I click my nails.
You click your nails.
Yes. Or napping at times I shouldn't be napping.
Okay.
See, we can work that back in, right?
They all guilty pleasures and worst habits do often share in the Venn diagram, a little overlap. Any hobbies?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love to hike. I love to kayak. This year I've tried gardening and I love it, but there's a learning curve right now.
You grow anything good?
Mm-hmm. Tomatoes and zucchinis but everything's dead right now. It did
really?
not make it.
Oh.
Yeah, they got a mildew, so it's kind of a sad day for me.
You're actually rather thankful because everybody I know who grows zucchinis spends about a month after harvest trying to give zucchini away.
Yep.
They're like, do you want some zucchinis? I'm like, I don't want
You just
your
leave it in
zucchinis.
people's vehicle.
Yes, I have had people leave zucchini in my office. I love you all. Thank you. But really, it's just
There's only so many zucchini one person can eat, right? Or two.
Yeah. Favorite movie? Is it an extremely girly movie and you're just afraid to admit it out loud, or what's going on here?
No.
Is it
There's
because
just
you have
so
top
many.
5? Okay, well,
There's just
rattle off the best 3 that come to mind.
I really like Bridge of Spies with Tom Hanks.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's just go Disney. Moana right now and Frozen 2 are top ones.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have like nieces and nephews? Younger? Well, no, because you're the oldest. You may not necessarily have a lot of those.
Yeah. I don't have.
So you're just
I have
doing
nieces and nephews on my husband's
Yeah.
side, but no, I make him watch Disney with me. He
really is glad that you put that out publicly.
Right. No, I was like, we are seeing, Finding Dory in the theaters. I'm drawing a blank. It's actually the Free Willy. Free Willy is one of them too.
Wow.
Yeah. Go back to 1992.
Did you cry when you watched it the first time?
Over and over.
Did you cry the last time?
I was 2 and cried. And somebody got me an orca whale, and I would just sit in my room and make it jump over me, and I would touch its belly, like as a weird child.
Sure.
It's free now.
Yeah.
I just have to touch its belly as it goes over my head.
Yeah.
So
Aren't you glad that we've got all this on video?
I mean, I can pretend that they're not there for right now.
That's good. Best thing you've seen on TV lately, since it's COVID time, and that's pretty much all we're doing these days.
Man, I watch what my husband watches. I am not a huge TV fan.
Okay.
I would rather sit and watch American's Funniest Home Video, compilations on YouTube, and laugh or find funny memes like that. So,
Brianna and I just took on Big Bang Theory.
Oh yeah.
We had never watched it when it was out, and my goodness, that's a charming, delightful show.
It is. I have watched that. Right now, we're watching Arrested Development.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Do you have a secret skill or ability?
I used to know the easiest form of Elvish and could write it. I was a real token fan, okay?
You really were a nerd. Such a big nerd. I can do magic, watch.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Brianne, I just discovered my wife can't do this. I
Really?
tried to physically manipulate her fingers into it, and it started to hurt. Like, I don't know what she was doing wrong, but she just can't.
I can't do it anymore, so don't ask me.
Oh, you can't do that anymore?
No, I can't write Elvish anymore, but I...
Oh, I thought you meant the hand.
Oh, no.
You can't write Elfish anymore? You let that
No,
go?
I did. Seminary, come on. There was only so many languages you could put in.
See, and I assumed that's what you sent out all your wedding invitations in, which is why you had only 4 people show up to the ceremony, right?
Right.
Yeah, that is. Worst job ever. And please don't take the grilling I'm giving you right now and immediately say your internship because of the boss.
Oh my goodness. The worst job ever. Okay, so I actually used to work on a private zoo. I love
Are you the
job.
Tiger King?
Queen, thank you
Do you
very
know
much.
Carol Baskins?
No, I did not.
You know she's going to be on Dancing with the Stars.
Right, I'm ready to see her moves.
Like all you cool cats and kittens.
Right. I'm excited. But yeah, oh my gosh, I forgot what
Private zoo.
Yeah, private zoo. So there was like wallabies and sloths and goats and bulls and horses. And so it was just a lot, dealing with a lot of manure.
Yeah.
Like once you get past that, the job was great and fun.
Mm-hmm.
But lots. And
You're like, oh, a sloth. And they're like, please clean up after the sloth. And you're like,
Yes.
oh, sloths are gross.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like this is really cool and stinky.
Yeah. And finally, any nicknames?
Yes. My nickname when I was little was Roo.
Roo?
Like Roo from Kanga and Roo and Winnie the Pooh. And my newest nickname was actually given to me by Frankie Anderson from Old Stone. When I'm their nanny, and when they first found out I was coming, Frankie said, her name is going to be Jalapeno, and she's going to be my spicy nanny. And so I am the Jalapeno, the spicy nanny.
And we're back to Spice Girl.
Yes, exactly.
Well, when an unscripted interview wraps itself up that seamlessly,
You just have to take it as a gift, right?
Yeah. Thank you again for your
You're so
time.
welcome.
Everybody, thank you for taking the time to watch and learn more about Ashlyn Stanton Henry. Again, remember, Sunday 2 to 4, Monday 1 to 3, and Tuesday 4 to 6. Zoom links will be out there. Hop on there, and Ashlyn will give you her new 3 favorite films that she comes up with between now and then.
Exactly.
All right.
Thank
Have
you
a great
so much.
day.